Hi there and welcome to The History Teacher. This revision video covers superpower relations and the Cold War, 1941 to 1991, from the GCSE Edexcel 9-1 course. Hopefully you'll also find it useful if you're studying any of the other exam boards, or if, like me, you just love history. You can now become a member to support me to continue to make this content. You'll get exclusive access to worksheets, revision materials, and you'll get to vote on forthcoming episodes. Just click on the join button below this video. Hi there guys! In today's video we're going to be taking a look at how to answer the narrative account question. Many students panic when they see this one, so we're going to break it down and show you how to tackle it step by step. Some quick facts to get us started. A narrative account requires you to tell a story or sequence of events using facts and details to build a coherent and engaging account. You will need to explain what happened, who was involved, and what the consequences were of the event in the question. This question is worth 8 marks. You get 4 marks for AO1, and that's your knowledge and understanding of the features and characteristics of the story. And 4 marks for AO2, which is your analytical narrative, i.e. the analysis of causation, consequence, and change. You don't have long, just 15 minutes should be allocated to this question. We're going to be looking at the question from the 2019 paper, Write a narrative account of the key events of the Hungarian uprising in 1956. You may use the following in your answer: Imre Nagy and Soviet tanks. You must also use information of your own. So in order to score well on this question, you need to provide a detailed account of the key events of the Hungarian uprising, drawing on relevant historical knowledge and using examples to support your points. You should also aim to demonstrate a clear understanding of the causes and consequences of the uprising and consider the perspectives of different groups and individuals involved. Remember, you only have a limited amount of time to answer this question, so be selective in your use of information and make sure that your answer is well organised and easy to follow. Remember, you can use the bullet points to help you, but if you don't know what those bullet points refer to, just ignore them. You absolutely must add another point because it says in the mark scheme that you cannot access level 3 without additional information. When structuring your answer, it's important to break your account down into clear and distinct paragraphs. Each paragraph should have a clear focus and should contribute to the overall narrative of the account. I highly recommend that you take 1 minute to plan your answer before you start. It doesn't need to be in detail, you're just going to jot down the key points for each paragraph. So here's an example. My plan looks like this. Paragraph 1 is going to be about the October protests and Nagy's reforms. Paragraph 2 will be about the Soviet invasion, and paragraph 3 will be about the international response. I always recommend that you use PEAL, point, evidence, explain, link for these paragraphs. It means that each paragraph should start with a clear point supported by evidence from your historical knowledge and then explained in relation to the wider context. By that I mean that nothing in history happens by itself, so you are trying to show the examiner how the event fits with other related events, in this case the USSR's control of Hungary and the USA's pledge to help communist country. It is vital in answering this question to ensure that you show how each section of your answer is linked to the wider narrative. This means that you should aim to show how each event or development contributed to the overall story of the uprising and how they are related to one another. By linking each section of your answer to the wider narrative of the uprising, you can create a compelling and insightful account which demonstrates your knowledge and understanding of this event. So let's work through an example paragraph. You don't need to write an introduction to the narrative, so we're going to just jump straight in with my first point. I want to set out the basics in this sentence, so I'm going to include the who, the what, the where, the when, and the why of the situation. So just simply, the protest started in October 1956 when the Hungarian people, fed up with fuel and food shortages as well as the lack of political freedom under the Soviet-controlled government, protested in the streets of Budapest. Who, what, where, when, and why. So, as always, when I'm writing my point, I'm just giving a brief overview of what this paragraph's going to be about. In this case, it's going to be about the Hungarian people's protests and then Nagy's reform. But because this is a narrative account and needs to be in chronological order, I need to add my evidence for the riots before bringing in the point of Nagy. So I'm going to just add a little bit. It says the government responded with force by sending troops and tanks. That's all the evidence I'm going to include for the riots. I've said what the riots were are about, and then I've just given a little bit of further information about it. You can see that I've already used 2 time connectives in my answer to give a sense of the chronology. I now need to explain how this is going to lead to the response by the USSR. So again, those time connectives. However, the protests continued, and Khrushchev, leader of the USSR, wanted to stop the protests because the world could see that Hungarian people didn't want to be under communist control. He appointed Imre Nagy, who brought in a series of reforms, including allowing non-communist parties to stand in government, free elections, and the release of political prisoners. I'm really happy with that as my first paragraph, but now I'm going to need to link it to the next point and the wider context. So I'm going to add a link sentence, which you will see links to the next paragraph. At first, Khrushchev allowed these reforms because it did seem to be working. Here, I've used a time connective at first to show that in this paragraph, Khrushchev seemed to be supportive of the reforms. It links directly to the first sentence of the next paragraph, as we will see. My next paragraph starts with a link back to the previous sentence, so I'm just linking everything together here. However, when Nagy announced on the 1st of November that Hungary was going to leave the Warsaw Pact, Khrushchev changed his mind. So what I've done here is to show the clear link between the 2 paragraphs and the wider context, but I've also introduced what this paragraph is going to be about, i.e. the Soviet response. I'm going to add a bit of evidence about his response here. He sent 1,000 tanks and 200,000 soldiers to stop the protests. My next bit is going to be an explanation. Why did he do that? Well, he could not risk allowing one country to leave because it might lead to other countries leaving also. The Hungarian people did not stand a chance against the tanks and were defeated. Despite this, they continued to resist, leading to the deaths of 20,000 civilians. So I've quite nicely explained the invasion and its impact in just 4 sentences. Now I need to link once more. My last paragraph is going to be about the international responses, so I'm going to write a sentence that links the invasion directly with the US response. The Soviet Union took back control of Hungary by November 10th, despite the citizens' appeals to the West for help. Again, you can see I've concluded the paragraph and then linked it onto my next paragraph and the wider context. Finally, our last paragraph needs to start with a link backwards that also introduces the next paragraph. The USA had promised in the Truman Doctrine and through announcements on Radio Free Europe that they would support any country that tried to break away from communism. However, when it came to it, they were unwilling to provide any real support. And you just then now need to add your evidence and your explanation. And for your big finish, one more link to the wider context. Remember, you don't need to write an introduction or conclusion for this question. You only have 15 minutes, so you need to be pretty fast, giving yourself 5 minutes per paragraph. So, to sum up, when writing a narrative account, it is important to cover the key events in chronological order, using relevant facts and details to support your analysis. Be sure to explain the causes and consequences, as well as the roles of the major players involved. With a clear and well-structured answer, you'll be well on your way to acing this question in your GCSE history exam. Okay, that's everything you need to know about how to answer the narrative account. Thank you for joining me. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel for more history content and visit my website to become a member and gain access to exclusive worksheets, revision materials, and votes on future episodes. Keep learning, and I'll see you next time.